we were asked to go through these lessons because they apply to all of us today. It's the lessons of how our human nature should refine so it can house a higher awareness of being spirit, of being child of God, of being that Christed energy of love that we all are, whether we realize it or not. So we are God's children. We are here to recognize and manifest that. And these are beautiful reminders, beautiful lessons. So last week, we learned that when we want to evolve and change, we have to commit to the process. We can't just hope. We have to make a commitment. That requires that we humble ourselves to the experiences that we have. It will lead us into finding ourselves. And then we learn that we have to stay true to our commitment. That in itself you would think would be enough, right? I'm going to stay true to my commitment. I'm going to follow this energy. I'm going to stay on my path. Well, the fun thing happens when we do that. Those of you that are seasoned know that now you get to refine all those things that you didn't realize were true about yourself. All those things that have been lurking in the shadows, you get to see. Well, in the scriptures, he is in what is called a mystery school. So I want to just follow this next lesson with the scriptures. And this is chapter 49. It says that when Jesus passed this first test, that they took him into a place of rest where there was luxurious things around him and beautiful things. And he said to them, I think I'd like to keep moving. I don't really want to rest right now, so put me into the next step. What is the next step in your training? And the next step began, they guided him to a chamber that was as dark as night. He was placed in the chamber and left alone, and his days were spent in this deep solitude. In the first test, he was put in a chamber where there were hieroglyphics and there were ancient mystery books and there was all sorts of information. This is a space where there is nothing. There's just the darkness. There's not even light. And he's there for days. And we don't know how long. It doesn't say how long. But he's experiencing a state of no outer input. There's nothing to stimulate him. There's nothing to see. There's nothing to study. The only thing that he can do is go within. And when you have that state of consciousness for however you can handle it, the first thought you normally have is, I'm forgotten by the world. I'm disconnected from the world. I'm left to my own devices. And going within becomes challenging. Does it not? So there he was in this state of human aloneness. Our world is about interaction with others. You realize that. That's why we have our five senses. We come to this world to interact, to create, to exchange, to be a part of a greater whole. When you're in this state of isolation, everything shuts down. You would think it would get stronger, but it becomes internal. Everything goes within. When you are isolated, it's just you. And in that deprivation of input, when you're going into just you in the darkness, this is when you find your fears. The first test, Jesus found his commitment to his own purpose. He said, I've chosen. I'm going to stand by my choice. I'm not going to let you sway me. I've decided. In the second test, he is in a space of rising fears. The inner rising fears might be lying dormant, but they will come to the surface. And this is when we get to know another aspect of ourselves. We see our great potential in the first one, and in this one we see what might be lying within, holding us back. So he's in there for days, we don't know how long. In the next few chapters it says, Jesus slept, which means he was in his subconscious mind. He was not even awake to the environment. He slept and a secret door opened, and in priest attire, two men came in, each carrying in his hand a little flickering light. Approaching Jesus, one man said, Young man, our hearts are grieved because of what you suffer in these fearful dens. And we have come as friends to bring you light and show you the way to liberty. So now, again, in priest garb, as if an authority, a power outside of self comes and says, oh my, you are in a bad state. When you want to get someone under your influence, The first step is to create danger. And the priests come and say, you're in danger. You're in creps where this is not good. The second step is to create a common goal, a commonality between the two of you. They say, we have come as friends to show you the way. We once were like you in these dens confined and thought that these weird, uncanny ways we could attain blessedness and power. But in a luckful moment, we were undeceived, and making use of our strength, we broke our chains, and we learned that all of this is corruption in disguise. These priests are criminal. They're criminals. They're just hid away. They created danger. They created a common condition. And now they're going to create a common issue. Fears reveal what you are attached to that you do not understand. This is what they say. These priests boast in sacrificial rites. They offer to their gods and burn them. They offer to their gods and burn while alive poor birds and beasts, even children, women, and men. Now they keep you here, and they may in a certain time offer you in sacrifice. What was the thing that Jesus had no ability to comprehend when he was a child? Sacrifice. That was the one issue that the priests did in almost every religion that he could not ever understand because it made no sense. So they are now bringing up his issue, his attachment to the sacrifice, to create the common ground to get him in alliance with them. You're in danger? We're just like you. And you know what they do sacrificially? Oh my God. That was his vulnerable spot. Now, if that were you, and someone hit your vulnerable spot after telling you you're in danger and I can help you, what would you do? Oh my God, I agree with you. That's terrible. Oh my God, you've got my alliance. You've got my attention. I'm with you, man. Y'all seeing yourself yet? So easy. We are so easily influenced by the outer. The first test was about doubt, that he had made the right choice. The second test is about fear of life. Now, let's just bring it home for a second. He was in a state of isolation and deprivation. Got it? Do you realize that you can also be in that same space while living in amongst a million people? You can be in a job that, an illness that cripples you. You could be in a job that absorbs you. You could be in a relationship that denies your life. A relationship that denies your life. It happens all the time. And in that sustained energy where input is not allowed. Input is not allowed. You can't hear anybody else talking to you. You can be in the same state. And when you're in that state, how vulnerable are you to some outside influence that says, oh, I was just with you. I was right where you are. Oh, and let me find your vulnerable spot. I can play that too. And now I want you to follow me. You guys see? We're seeing the same outside power as we saw in the first test, but it's coming at him differently. We think we did it, we stayed true to our path, and then dang it if our fears aren't ignited about something we didn't even know we were still afraid of. But he doesn't respond in the way that they want him to. He responds completely differently. He says, who are you peeps? Seriously, you appear in my room, who are you? He doesn't talk to the issues they presented. He says this, your little tapers show the light that you bring. Small. Who are you and how did you get in here? The temple walls are thick and large. And the men said, beneath these walls are many, many hidden ways, and we who have been priests spent months and years within the dens and know them all. And you know what Jesus said? Then you're traitors. Then you are traitors to the belief you followed. And a man who betrays a man can never be trusted. I cannot trust you because you betrayed the people that you followed. So he is sizing up the messenger. He has totally taken the message and set it aside. and he is looking at the messenger. How often do we do that when someone brings us a message of threat? Not often. We're going right into what is, how are you saying? How do you know what you know? Can you validate it to me? Do you see? We never look at the messenger. And that's what he does. If one has only reached the plane of treachery, he is a lover of deceit and will betray a friend to save his selfish self. Behold, you men are whatever you are. Your words fall lightly on my ears. Can I prejudge these priests that I have entered into an agreement with because of what you say and you admit you have betrayed them? Can I really prejudge them based on what you say? Y'all hearing it? Okay. This is all about Jesus, right? Then he says, no man can judge for me, for if I judge till all testimony is in, I may not judge aright. He doesn't say you're wrong or right. He says, this is my call, not yours. By whatever way you came, return. My soul prefers the darkness of the grave to the flickering little lights that you bring. My conscience rules. What these, my brothers in this school have to say, I will hear. And when the testimony is all in, I will decide. And you cannot judge for me. I will decide. Then he says, begone, you men, begone. Lead me to the charming light, which was no light in his room. For while the sun shines not, within my soul there is a light surpassing that of sun or moon. With an angry threat, the priest left, and soon a white-robed priest appeared and led the way, and Jesus stood before the high priest, the Hierophant, and not a word was said. But in his hand the master placed a scroll on which the word justice was inscribed. And Jesus was master of the phantom forms of prejudice and treachery. Take a breath. Facing your fears, no matter what they look like. Facing your fears. Being alone in the world. How many of you have felt alone in the world? Of course. And when something comes up within you, when there is this sense, this overwhelming sense that you could be in the wrong place, facing your fears requires you to be aware of who you are and what you believe. Jesus said the lights were small. Do you ever source your information? When someone comes and tells you something that is frightening, do you ever source where it came from? Where'd you get that? Even a reliable source. You know? Who might have written that? And if it's not a friend or a reliable source, let me just be with what you're saying, or let me not listen at all. But when it triggers a fear within you, that tells you one thing, that it is time for you to heal. It's absolutely time for you to heal whatever is coming up. Facing fears requires you to become aware of what is really happening around you and not betray yourself to what is coming at you. Okay? Jesus didn't focus on the idea of sacrifice. He focused on the messenger who brings the message. While I was preparing this, I was reminded of an experience we had. It's one of my famous stories. One of my famous stories. Patrick doesn't tell it often. I tell him more than he does. It's about him. So, in 1995, when we were in Egypt, we were visiting the Giza Plateau. And we had gone up into the King's Chamber, and we were meditating, and we stayed there a good time. Groups would come up, groups would leave. Groups would come up, groups would leave. And we were just meditating. We laid in the sarcophagus that was open, and we were just really enjoying ourselves. That's why we went, to have that experience. And one of the guards came up to us and said, meditate? Like, because he barely spoke English. And so he, I don't know if he guided us down or it was time for us to leave, and he was walking down with us. King's Chamber, man, you get a hike to get up there. I'm not kidding. It's a hike. And I was young at that time, too. But it was a hike. So as we're going down, he stops us at the bottom where the entrance is, and he says, meditate, and he goes, come with me. And there was a entrance that was roped off where you weren't allowed to go. And I took one look, and no, thank you, I'm not going. It was, I'll get the dimensions, 3 foot square, smooth, shaft. It went down 330 feet, which is a football field, and it was at a 54-degree angle, which means Patrick tells me that's 45, no, this is 40?
That's 90.
90? 45, like 54. Is that good? Is that good angle? 54. So it's going straight down, and there's nothing but darkness ahead. So Pat's like, of course I'm going down. I'm a boy. No. So he and the guide go down, and the guide has a flashlight. So they're going down this thing, and he's on his haunches because you can't stand up. You've got to like hunker down and the kind of walk most children can do, but most of us would be challenged. So he's going down to the bottom, and there's a light because the man has a flashlight, and so there's a well down there, and there's a little seat in the rock, and it's rough. It's not like the other parts of the pyramid. And the man telepathically or somehow says to Patrick, you know, basically, do you want to stay and meditate? And Patrick says yes. Don't know how they communicated, but they did. So the man starts going back up this 330 feet, and he takes his flashlight with him. And Patrick is left in the darkness. But he shuts his eyes, and he meditates. He's in the darkness, he meditates, and he's meditating, and he's fine. Having a good time meditating. And then when he's finished, and I'm up there going, oh. And when the guide comes up, because they were down there for a long time before the guide came up. When the guide came up, I went, excuse me. Where's Patrick? Oh, he meditated. You know? Okay, he's not worried. So I'm sitting there patiently meditating as well, sending love and light to Patrick. But when it's time for him to come up, he opens his eyes and there's darkness, complete darkness all around him. He did not know at the time, but in the reading of what that chamber was for, that was the chamber of facing your fears. All the initiates in the ancient schools would go there. And so he's in the darkness. He decides it's time to come up. So he sees a hole of light way in the distance, so he knows that's the opening. And so he starts to crawl, or haunch it up, walk up, bent over. And as he's walking up, he felt this energy come over him like a blanket, and it said, you're going to die. It's like a big elemental presence that just said, you're going to die. And he said his heart just started pounding. And it was like body went into shock for a second or longer. And then he said, I am the light. I am the light. And when he said it, his body started to still and the energy went away. Now, I don't know how far up the shaft he was, but he still had a good ways to crawl. By the time he made it, he was fine. He was fine. But in that moment, when that energy said, you're going to die, if he had not turned within to hear, to feel, and to know who he was, what could have easily happened? Heart attack. Almost a heart attack climbing the king's chamber. Could have easily happened. The stress of that moment. Patrick faced his fear in that moment. He faced a fear of life. A fear of being alive. And you passed. You did well. This is a dramatic example. We all have examples in our lives where we are in the moment and we think we are doing good, we are on our path, we get isolated, we get in that depraved space, and we do not really know what our next step is, because in that darkness you cannot see. You can't see your next step. And then something comes from outside that reflects the fear you have within. Has anybody ever changed jobs or been in the process of changing jobs and you're in the darkness? And then something outside comes and says, you're not going to have money. Is that not a common fear people have? And then you go, oh my God, I'm not going to have money. And you can sit in that And you can stay in the middle of the shaft, because that's exactly what it would put you. In the middle of the darkness. Or you can say, no, I might not. Oh, I wonder what that feels like. Or I've always been fed. I'm always going to be fed. I've always had a home. I'm always going to have a home. Yeah, I'm going to be fine. And you keep moving. Do y'all feel the difference? Either thing. I wonder what that feels like not to have money. Where's my power? It's back in me. It doesn't matter to me. Or, nope, that's not going to happen. Where's my power? Doesn't matter what you choose. It matters where your power is. You guys getting it? Can you feel that we all walk these lessons? Who do I follow when this power outside of self comes and finds my most vulnerable space and smacks me with it? I got to experience it this morning. My most vulnerable space. We're not exempt. And you have to come back. What is the message? What is the mission? And what is mine to do? And get back the focus on you. Get back the focus on you. What is yours to do? All right. When we are in these spaces, we cannot prejudge anything around us because we don't know where we're going. Do you guys hear me, hear me, hear me, hear me? You cannot prejudge. You cannot think you know what you're going to be because you're not there yet. You can't prejudge your teachers. When people come, you can't prejudge things that you've agreed to. You experience it. You keep your power within, you make your choice within, and you keep your eyes open to the messengers. And then you live your message. Does this sound really heavy? All right. This is the lesson of staying true to your path and not betraying your purpose. Not betraying your purpose inside. When the outside force creates fear, acknowledge they are speaking from their energy and not yours. And in that moment, let that fear go. Doesn't matter what side you land on that fear. Let that fear go. All of these lessons are about how to refine the human behavior. Every single one of us has gotten knocked off our path with this lesson. How long we stayed off that path was how long it took us to wake up. But we've all gotten knocked off. Have we not? Yes. Okay. So just knowing the one key, look at the messenger. Not the message. Look at the messenger as they come to you. Is that not a key to keeping you centered? Okay. All right. If I can hold my energy true to who I am, then I will betray no man. You may not like me. I may offend you. I do that well, totally unintentionally, but I do. But I am being true to who I am. And if we all walked with that sense of being true to our own inner being, how powerful would our world be? You guys ready to take this inside? All right, shut your eyes. Father, Mother God, I ask that your light enfold each one here. I ask that that beautiful love of the perfect consciousness engulf us. That love that sees our perfectness, our bliss, our joy, your love for us enfolds us. And I would ask that each one of you just see a beautiful column of light come over you. Feel your heart. And just for 1 minute, feel, I am good. And in your mind's eye, let yourself lift up into a beautiful cloud of light. just above your body a little bit. Just imagine you can lift into a cloud of light. And feel the beautiful presence of Jesus Christ standing by your side. And feel the peace. Breathe that peace into your heart. And in your heart, just say, show me my next step, God. And in your mind's eye, take a step. Take a step in this beautiful cloud. And become aware that the light in your heart is getting brighter. Whatever is your divine purpose, begin to feel it. You may not have words for it. It may be simple, it may be something you do every day. But feel that I want to stand in my divine purpose. And just begin to become aware of energies beginning to come around you, of voices, people, situations that want to instill fear in you. It may just be a collective arc of light around you. You may see people's faces or hear something. As you stand in your divine purpose, just feel the energy around you that wants you to be in their purpose. That create fear inside you, or reveal fear to you. Standing in your purpose, take a breath and send love to this energy around you. I am on my path. And I am not afraid. Breathe again and send it again. I am on my path, and I am not afraid. And as the love is received by these people, they just kind of go away, lifting into the light. And one more time until the energy is completely clear. Take a breath. I am on my path, and I am not afraid, and send love. And feel as if it is just you standing there now with Jesus Christ. But I want you to feel that you are not alone. Feel the love of God pouring through you. All that I need is mine now. And I'm willing to be supported in every way that serves me. And God, we thank you so much. We thank you with open heart. So just let this energy pour through you. Gently allow your focus to begin to come back down from the cloud, coming back into your body. Feel the chair. Focus on your feet. I am on my divine path. And all is well. And we thank you, God, I love you. And so it is. How do you feel? You will face your fears. That's how we release them. Just see them and let them go. Now, you have the key. Look at the messenger that brings it up. Thank them. Thank you for showing me my fear. Now I can heal it. I don't need to go with you. Thank you. So we have dealt with fear for 2 weeks. Next week we don't. We move on to another beautiful aspect of the human nature. But while you walk this week, be aware. You'll see things. You'll be reminded of things. Things will happen. where you'll have an opportunity to see, is this my divine path? Stay awake and act in love. And then it's easy. Say, Yega.